Okay, so next let's take a look at inversions of leading tone seventh chords. In major keys, we use a bass clef here. The leading tone diminished seventh chord may be found in root position, in first inversion, or 6/5 position, in 4/3 position, or second inversion, and then finally, third inversion, or 4/2. So this is no different than the dominant seventh chord and its positions. We just remember the simple gizmo 7/6/5, 4/3, 4/2, just like a phone number, you can easily remember these numbers. Okay, now then let's take a look at the interval content of these chords. As we've learned, the root position has a diminished fifth found here, between the root and the fifth factor. The other fifth that appears is a perfect fifth. Next, the 6/5 position chord, we have inverted this diminished fifth, and now becomes an augmented fourth. So diminished fifths, remember, invert to augmented fourths. And that augmented fourth is found here. The subsequent inversion 4/3 position also features the augmented fourth. And the 4/2 position features a diminished fifth. Okay, this is really important that we know the interval content of these chords, because when we approach the resolution of these chords, we need to resolve these tritones, and that begins to limit our choices in terms of the voice leading. Let's take a look at the resolution of these chords, teutonic triads. Let's take the root position first. If we look at this chord on a simple graph, okay, you can see the seventh will resolve down by step. Okay, you can see the leading tone is moving up. The question is, what happens with the fifths? Let me erase this and show another version. If I just look at the root and the fifth factor of both of these chords, you can see parallel fifths. However, this specific kind of parallel fifths is called parallel unequal fifths, which, when used sparingly, is an acceptable voice leading practice. It's not the best practice, but perhaps used sparingly, unequal fifths will be okay. If I look at the other fifth, which we identified as a perfect fifth, once again, here's our chord. If I take away these two notes and I look at how they voice lead, I notice that parallel fifths, parallel perfect fifths, are a possibility. So when it comes to voice leading, as we already know this, root movements in seconds, the danger is parallel fifths. And that's why we take the upper three voices in opposite direction as the bass, so that we avoid these parallel fifths. Okay. So what you should know, what you need to write down and you need to memorize, is that when it comes to the root position, as well as other positions of the leading tone seventh chord in major keys, we need to remember that parallel fifths are possible and to avoid them. Okay? This is the first inversion of the same chord. Notice that a perfect fifth is found. Okay, if I look at the movement of that fifth to the next chord, you can see, oh, well, perfect fifths, once again, are possible. And so we need to watch out for the voice leading of these. The other positions of this chord don't have that problem. If you look at the interval content and look at how they might move, you can see that there's less of a problem, potential problem. Okay, this chord has an augmented fourth. If the augmented fourth resolves appropriately, that going out and that going up, we notice that this chord will resolve to tonic and first inversion. Okay, so the root position, leading tone seventh chord, will resolve to tonic in root position. The 6-5 and 4-3 positions will most often resolve to tonic and first inversion, and this is because of the resolution of the tritone and the avoidance of parallel fifths. When it comes to the rare 4-2 position of this chord, if I can just write it here, 4-2 position chords, the bass will always resolve down by step. If that's the case, then this must resolve to 1-6-4, because the fifth factor of the chord is in the bass. If you need to rewind and review this and to really look at this carefully by spelling these or playing them, this would be a good time to do it, because this is key to understanding what to expect in part writing applications in terms of the progression of chords and then the subsequent voice leading exercise. Okay, so go on and look at the next video, which is resolving these chords. I do a couple of them, and then we'll actually do some full-fledged voice leading exercises.